The first indication came not with a bang, but with an impossible silence. At 2:37 hours Greenwich Mean Time, every communication satellite above Earth's atmosphere went dark simultaneously. Jack Harper jolted awake in his Washington, D.C. apartment, years of military training snapping his consciousness into razor-sharp alertness before his eyes fully opened. His secure military tablet flickered to life, its encrypted display showing a cascade of system failures. Cellular networks, GPS, military communication grids, all gone in an instant. Outside his window, the city's nighttime glow began to dim as power substations across the eastern seaboard started to falter. Not a hack, Jack muttered to himself, pulling on a tactical response uniform he'd kept meticulously maintained since his Special Forces retirement. This is something else entirely. The building's emergency generators kicked in with a muted hum, casting a sterile fluorescent light across the room. Jack's fingers flew across multiple communication devices, each meeting the same dead silence. Something was coming. 37 minutes later, the sky changed. It began with a subtle warping of starlight, as if reality itself was being folded and reshaped. Jack watched from his apartment's reinforced windows as massive crystalline structures materialized above Washington. They weren't ships in any traditional sense, more like living geometric configurations that defied known physics. Each structure pulsed with an inner light that seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting with an almost organic rhythm. Similar reports began streaming in from global communication nodes that had managed to survive the initial blackout. Tokyo, Beijing, Moscow, London, Sao Paulo. No major city was untouched by these impossible visitors. The United Nations Emergency Response Center erupted into controlled chaos. Jack Harper was patched in remotely, his decades of strategic planning making him an invaluable asset even in retirement. The world's top military and diplomatic minds were assembling a response to something humanity had only imagined in science fiction. Dr. Elizabeth Reyes, the UN's chief xenological consultant, spoke first. Her voice was calm, almost clinical. They're not attacking. They're establishing a communication perimeter. Jack studied the holographic displays tracking the alien structures. Each crystalline formation maintained a perfect geometric relationship with the others, creating a global network that encircled the entire planet. No traditional weapons were visible, no obvious threats beyond their mere presence. Then came the message. Every functioning screen worldwide, from smartphones to massive public displays, flickered to life simultaneously. The image was both alien and somehow comprehensible, a representation of the Galactic Assembly, a coalition of species so advanced they made human technological achievements look like primitive stone tools. The message was direct and chilling. Humanity has reached a critical developmental stage. The translation algorithms rendered in multiple languages. Your technological progression, combined with your demonstrable history of conflict, presents an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. You will submit to complete disarmament and oversight. Your planetary sovereignty is hereby suspended. Military commanders around the world tensed. Diplomatic channels buzzed with urgent communications. But Jack Harper saw something else in the alien communication, a hint of fear beneath the authoritative proclamation. They weren't here to negotiate. They were here to neutralize a potential threat. The crystalline structures began to pulse with increased intensity. Massive energy readings flooded scientific monitoring stations. Whatever was coming next would define humanity's future, whether that future involved survival or extinction. Jack Harper looked out over Washington, the alien structures casting impossible shadows across the city. Somewhere deep in his military-trained instincts, he knew humanity's response would be anything but predictable. The challenge had been issued, and humanity was about to show the galaxy exactly what it was made of. The world didn't fall apart. It came together. Within hours of the alien ultimatum, something extraordinary happened. The same species that had spent decades in geopolitical conflict now moved with a synchronicity that would have seemed impossible just days before. Underground research facilities that had existed as competing national projects suddenly began sharing classified data through encrypted channels so complex they made previous communication networks look like children's walkie-talkies. Jack Harper watched from the UN's Emergency Command Center as the transformation unfolded. Nations that had been bitter rivals just days ago now coordinated with a precision that would have shocked their own citizens. The United States shared quantum computing breakthroughs with China. Russian cybersecurity experts collaborated with American defense strategists. European Union technical teams integrated their research with counterparts from India and Brazil. Dr. Miranda Rodriguez, head of the Global Technological Integration Team, explained the strategy to Jack. "We're not just sharing information," she said, her fingers dancing across multiple holographic displays. "We're creating a distributed intelligence network that can adapt faster than any single system." The alien ultimatum had done what decades of diplomatic efforts could not. It had unified humanity. Underground research facilities activated contingency plans that had been decades in preparation. These weren't simple military installations, but complex ecosystems of scientific innovation that had been quietly developing technologies far beyond public knowledge. Projects that had been compartmentalized and hidden were now being rapidly integrated. In a secure facility beneath the Atacama Desert, a team of Chilean engineers completed the final calibrations on a quantum communication array that could potentially bypass the alien communication blockade. Simultaneously, a research complex in Siberia brought online a series of adaptive nanoswarm defense prototypes that defied conventional understanding of material science. The global response was multifaceted. While military strategists prepared defensive protocols, scientists and engineers worked on something far more complex than simple weaponry. They were developing a comprehensive response that went beyond traditional concepts of defense. Jack received encrypted communication from an old Special Forces contact working in a deep-cover research facility. The message was brief but intriguing. "Our backup systems are coming online. They've been waiting for this moment." The alien structures remained suspended in the sky, their crystalline formations a constant reminder of the ultimatum. But humanity was no longer frozen in fear. The initial shock had transformed into a collective determination that ran deeper than any single nation's interests. In Beijing, a team of quantum physicists completed a breakthrough in entanglement communication that could potentially create an information network immune to external disruption. In Silicon Valley, computer engineers were developing adaptive AI systems that could learn and respond to alien technological probes faster than any traditional computing method. Dr. Rodriguez pulled up a global map for Jack, showing the interconnected research facilities. "We're not just preparing a defense," she explained. "We're creating a living, breathing technological organism that can adapt faster than any external threat." The alien message had revealed something crucial. The Galactic Assembly viewed humanity as a linear, predictable species. They had calculated their approach based on humanity's historical conflicts, expecting a disorganized and fractured response. Instead, they had inadvertently triggered humanity's most powerful survival mechanism: collective innovation. Jack Harper saw something in these developments that went beyond technological preparation. This was a fundamental reimagining of human potential. The alien ultimatum had exposed a truth that many have forgotten. When truly challenged, humanity didn't just survive. It transformed. Communication networks that had been dormant for years suddenly sparked to life. Research facilities that had operated in strict isolation now became nodes in a global web of innovation. The boundaries between military, scientific, and civilian sectors began to blur, creating a hybrid response that defied traditional classification. As the day progressed, the alien structures continued to hover, silent and imposing. But the silence below was anything but passive. Humanity was preparing a response that would challenge everything the Galactic Assembly believed about emerging civilizations. Jack Harper allowed himself a slight smile. The challenge had been issued, and humanity was about to demonstrate that they were anything but predictable. The Defiance Protocol was in full effect. The first true demonstration of humanity's technological prowess came unexpectedly from a research facility nestled in the remote mountains of New Mexico. Dr. Samantha Rodriguez had spent the last decade developing what her colleagues initially dismissed as an impossible dream: the quantum adaptive network that could think, learn, and respond faster than any known computational system. As the alien structures continued their silent vigil above Earth, Samantha's team initiated a protocol that had been years in development. The nano-swarm defense system came online with a subtle pulse that went unnoticed by most monitoring systems. But for those watching closely, something extraordinary was happening. The system wasn't just a defensive mechanism. It was a living, evolving technological organism. Each nano-unit was designed with a core principle of adaptive learning. Unlike traditional defense systems that relied on pre-programmed responses, these microscopic technological marvels could instantaneously analyze incoming data, understand potential threats, and reconfigure themselves in milliseconds. They were more than a weapon. They were a collective intelligence that could reshape itself faster than any external system could comprehend. Jack Harper watched the initial tests from the UN Emergency Command Center, his military-trained eyes catching subtle nuances that most observers would miss. The nanoswarm wasn't just responsive. It was predictive. When simulated alien technological probes were introduced into the test environment, the nanoswarm didn't just defend. It anticipated, learned, and began to develop counter-strategies before the simulated threats could fully manifest. Dr. Rodriguez explained the breakthrough to her stunned colleagues. "We're not creating a defense system," she said, her voice calm but charged with excitement. "We're developing a technological immune system for our entire planet." The implications were staggering. Traditional military defense relied on prediction and preparedness. This new system could adapt in real time, learning from each interaction, each potential threat. It could redistribute its computational and physical resources instantaneously, creating defensive configurations that would be impossible for any static system to predict. Global scientific teams began to understand the true nature of the breakthrough. The nanoswarm wasn't just a technological achievement. It was a fundamental reimagining of how adaptive systems could function. Each individual nano-unit contained a complex quantum computing core that could communicate instantaneously with other units, creating a distributed intelligence that defied traditional understanding of computation and physical interaction. In orbital monitoring stations, scientists began to notice strange interactions between the Earth's technological systems and the alien structures overhead. The nanoswarm was already beginning to analyze, probe, and understand the alien technologies that surrounded the planet. Jack Harper received a classified briefing that sent a chill down his spine. The initial tests suggested that the nanoswarm could potentially do more than just defend. It could actively counter and potentially neutralize advanced technological systems that were far beyond current human understanding. The alien ultimatum had inadvertently triggered something profound. By threatening humanity, they had pushed scientists and researchers to develop technologies that went far beyond traditional defensive thinking. The nanoswarm was proof that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in its current technological capabilities, but in its ability to innovate under pressure. Dr. Rodriguez's team continued to monitor the system's development. Each test revealed new capabilities that seemed to border on the impossible. The nanoswarm could redistribute its computational resources, create complex defensive formations, and even develop predictive models of potential technological threats faster than any known computational system. Global communication networks began to show subtle changes. The nanoswarm wasn't just a defensive system. It was beginning to enhance existing technological infrastructure, creating more robust and adaptive communication networks that could potentially bypass the alien communication blockade. Jack understood the deeper significance. This wasn't just a technological breakthrough. It was a fundamental challenge to the Galactic Assembly's understanding of emerging civilizations. Humanity wasn't just preparing a defense. They were rewriting the rules of technological engagement. As the day progressed, the alien structures remained suspended in the sky, their crystalline formations now under constant analysis by the ever-evolving nanoswarm. Something fundamental had changed. Humanity had just demonstrated that when threatened, they didn't just adapt, they transformed. The technological wildcard had been played, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity was anything but predictable. While technological teams continued their preparations, Jack Harper initiated a strategy that would become known as the Cultural Transmission Protocol. It was a gamble unlike any diplomatic approach in human history, a comprehensive broadcast of humanity's entire cultural narrative, unfiltered and unapologetic. Global communication networks, partially restored and enhanced by the nanoswarm, began transmitting a living archive of human experience. It wasn't a carefully curated propaganda piece, but a raw, uncompromising representation of human existence. The transmission began with humanity's earliest recorded history. Cave paintings flickered alongside ancient architectural marvels. Scenes of brutal conflicts were juxtaposed with moments of extraordinary compassion. The alien observers watched as millennia of human experience unfolded in a matter of hours. They saw the construction of the pyramids alongside the horrors of global wars. The first steps on the moon played out next to images of environmental destruction and subsequent restoration efforts. Mathematical breakthroughs danced with artistic masterpieces, scientific discoveries intertwined with spiritual revelations. Dr. Miranda Rodriguez coordinated the transmission, understanding that this was more than just a communication. It was a psychological warfare strategy designed to challenge the Galactic Assembly's fundamental understanding of intelligent life. "We're not just showing them our history," she explained to Jack Harper. "We're demonstrating the complexity of human existence. We're proving that our contradictions are our greatest strength." The alien observation teams became increasingly perplexed. Their computational models broke down when trying to categorize human behavior. How could a species simultaneously create monuments of breathtaking beauty and wage devastating conflicts? How could the same civilization produce both nuclear weapons and remarkable medical breakthroughs? Jack watched the alien response carefully. Their crystalline structures began to show subtle changes, almost like a form of technological confusion. The nanoswarm detected minute fluctuations in the alien communication networks, suggesting that the cultural transmission was having an unprecedented effect. The broadcast delved deeper. Mathematical prodigies shared screen time with street artists. Quantum physicists were followed by indigenous storytellers. A symphony orchestra's performance transitioned into footage of medical volunteers working in disaster zones. Each moment challenged the linear understanding of intelligence that the Galactic Assembly had assumed about humanity. Most critically, the transmission revealed humanity's capacity for change. They showed ecological disasters followed by global restoration efforts. Ancient conflicts gave way to diplomatic resolutions. Technological advances were tempered by ethical considerations. The aliens were witnessing a species that could learn, adapt, and fundamentally transform itself. Dr. Rodriguez had designed the transmission with a specific purpose. "We're not trying to prove we're peaceful," she told Jack. "We're showing that we're unpredictable, that we can't be defined by any single characteristic." The cultural offensive went beyond visual and historical representation. Embedded within the transmission were complex mathematical sequences, artistic algorithms, and linguistic patterns that challenged traditional understanding of communication. The nanoswarm helped encode subtle informational layers that would take the aliens years to fully comprehend. Global participation was unprecedented. Every nation, every cultural group contributed to the transmission. It wasn't a unified message, but a cacophony of human experience, messy, contradictory, and utterly fascinating. Jack Harper recognized the deeper strategy. They weren't just defending against an alien threat. They were redefining the very concept of intelligent life in the galaxy. The alien structures began to show signs of internal recalibration. Their perfect geometric formations started to develop slight imperfections, almost as if they were struggling to process the information being transmitted. The computational models they had used to assess humanity were rapidly becoming obsolete. As the transmission continued, the Galactic Assembly faced a fundamental challenge to their understanding of emerging civilizations. Humanity wasn't a linear progression of technological development. It was a complex, adaptive system that defied traditional classification. The cultural offensive had begun, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon was its ability to be utterly, beautifully unpredictable. The strategic response entered a new phase that defied every conventional understanding of military and technological preparation. Dr. Samantha Rodriguez stood at the epicenter of humanity's most audacious technological gambit, a quantum communication network that would rewrite the fundamental rules of interstellar information exchange. Deep within a reinforced research complex in the Colorado Rocky Mountains, her team had been developing something far beyond a simple communication system. This was a living, breathing technological organism that could communicate across impossible distances, using principles of quantum entanglement that made traditional communication networks look like primitive smoke signals. Jack Harper watched the initial tests with a mixture of scientific fascination and military caution. The quantum network wasn't just a communication method. It was a complete reimagining of how information could be transmitted, processed, and understood. Each quantum node was designed with an adaptive intelligence that could instantaneously reconfigure itself. When test probes attempted to analyze the network, it would shift, transform, and become something entirely different. The system didn't just defend against intrusion. It made intrusion conceptually impossible. "We're not creating a communication network," Dr. Rodriguez explained during a classified briefing. "We're developing a living information ecosystem that can think, adapt, and evolve faster than any external system can comprehend." The implications were staggering. Traditional communication relied on fixed pathways and predictable transmission methods. This quantum network could instantaneously redistribute information, create multiple simultaneous communication channels, and even generate entirely new communication protocols on the fly. Global research teams began to understand the true nature of the breakthrough. The quantum network wasn't just a technological achievement. It was a fundamental challenge to how intelligence could be understood and transmitted. Jack received encrypted reports from research facilities around the world. Each test revealed capabilities that seemed to border on the impossible. The network could create communication pathways that didn't exist moments before. It could transmit information in ways that defied traditional understanding of physics. The alien structures overhead began to show signs of technological confusion. Their perfect geometric formations started to develop subtle irregularities as they attempted to analyze the increasingly complex human communication systems. Dr. Rodriguez's team continued to push the boundaries of what was possible. They discovered that the quantum network could do more than just communicate. It could create adaptive information spaces that could potentially interface with and potentially disrupt alien technological systems. Military strategists realized they were dealing with something far beyond traditional defensive thinking. This wasn't just a communication network. It was a living, thinking system that could potentially rewrite the rules of technological engagement. Global communication networks began to show subtle changes. The quantum system wasn't just a communication method. It was beginning to enhance existing technological infrastructure, creating more robust and adaptive networks that could potentially bypass any external communication blockade. Jack understood the deeper significance. This was a fundamental challenge to the Galactic Assembly's understanding of emerging civilizations. Humanity wasn't just preparing a defense. They were rewriting the fundamental rules of technological interaction. The strategic metamorphosis went beyond simple technological development. It represented a complete reimagining of how intelligence could function. Each quantum node was designed with a core principle of adaptive learning, creating a system that could think, learn, and respond faster than any external threat could comprehend. As the day progressed, the alien structures remained suspended in the sky, their crystalline formations now under constant analysis by the ever-evolving quantum network. Something fundamental had changed. Humanity had just demonstrated that when threatened, they didn't just adapt. They transformed the very nature of technological possibility. Dr. Rodriguez allowed herself a slight smile. The Galactic Assembly had come expecting a linear, predictable species. Instead, they were facing a technological ecosystem that could reshape itself faster than any external system could analyze. The strategic metamorphosis was complete, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to be utterly, beautifully unpredictable. The proposal came from an unexpected source. Jack Harper, drawing on decades of military strategy and diplomatic experience, presented a challenge that would fundamentally alter the trajectory of humanity's confrontation with the Galactic Assembly. During an emergency global leadership conference projected across secure quantum communication networks, Jack outlined a strategy that seemed both audacious and impossible. Rather than continue a path of escalating tension, humanity would propose a collaborative challenge, a multidimensional problem-solving scenario that would test the very limits of intelligence and adaptability. Dr. Miranda Rodriguez and Dr. Samantha Rodriguez worked together to design the challenge's parameters. It would be a complex, multi-layered problem that required not just technological prowess, but creative thinking, emotional intelligence, and the ability to make paradigm-shifting leaps of logic. The challenge would consist of several interconnected components. 1. A quantum computational problem that pushed the boundaries of mathematical understanding. 2. A complex ecological restoration scenario. 3. An interpersonal conflict resolution challenge. 4. An artistic and creative problem that defied traditional logic. 5. A technological innovation task that required thinking beyond linear progression. Jack Harper understood the deeper strategy. This wasn't just about solving a problem. It was about demonstrating humanity's unique approach to intelligence, an approach that went far beyond the linear, predictable methods the Galactic Assembly expected. The alien observers received the challenge proposal with what could only be described as technological confusion. Their communication networks showed complex fluctuations as they attempted to analyze the proposal's implications. Dr. Miranda Rodriguez explained the challenge's core principle. "We're not trying to prove we're the most advanced species," she told the global leadership team. "We're showing that intelligence isn't about perfection. It's about adaptability, creativity, and the ability to approach problems from unexpected angles." The global scientific community mobilized with unprecedented speed and cooperation. Research facilities that had previously been competitors now worked as a unified team, sharing resources, insights, and innovative approaches. The first component, the quantum computational problem, was designed to be deliberately complex. It wasn't just a mathematical challenge, but a problem that required creative thinking that went beyond traditional computational approaches. Human teams would need to develop entirely new mathematical frameworks to even begin addressing the challenge. The ecological restoration scenario presented a multilayered problem that required understanding complex systemic interactions. Teams would need to develop solutions that balanced technological intervention with ecological sensitivity, an approach that merged scientific precision with holistic thinking. The interpersonal conflict resolution challenge was perhaps the most unique. It presented a complex scenario that required emotional intelligence, cultural understanding, and the ability to find solutions that went beyond traditional negotiation methods. The artistic challenge was deliberately designed to be impossible to solve through traditional logical approaches. It required creative thinking, emotional depth, and the ability to make connections that defied linear reasoning. The technological innovation task pushed teams to develop solutions that weren't just incrementally better, but fundamentally transformative. It challenged participants to think beyond current technological paradigms. Jack Harper watched as the global teams began to approach the challenge. What he saw wasn't just problem-solving. It was a comprehensive demonstration of human potential. The Galactic Assembly's observation networks began to show signs of increasing complexity. Their computational models, designed to predict and categorize intelligent behavior, started to break down when attempting to analyze the human approach. As the challenge unfolded, something extraordinary became clear. Humanity wasn't approaching this as a competition to be won, but as an opportunity for mutual understanding and collaborative problem-solving. The collaborative challenge had begun, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength was its ability to find solutions in the most unexpected ways. The challenge unfolded like a complex symphony of human ingenuity, each moment revealing layers of creativity that left the Galactic Assembly's computational systems in a state of perpetual recalibration. Dr. Samantha Rodriguez watched from the Global Coordination Center as human teams approached the multifaceted challenge with an approach that defied every expectation. Where the assembly species relied on mathematically perfect, linear solutions, humans brought something entirely different. A stunning combination of intuition, emotional intelligence, and breathtaking creative problem-solving. The quantum computational problem became a canvas for human innovation. Rather than attempting to solve the challenge through traditional computational methods, teams began developing entirely new mathematical frameworks. Mathematicians worked alongside artists, philosophers alongside engineers. They didn't just approach the problem, they'd reimagined the very concept of problem-solving. A team from a small university in Brazil discovered a solution that involved treating mathematical constraints as fluid, adaptive systems rather than fixed parameters. Their approach didn't just solve the computational challenge, it created an entirely new way of understanding mathematical relationships that left the alien observers stunned. The ecological restoration scenario proved equally revolutionary. Instead of developing a single, optimized solution, human teams created a network of adaptive approaches that could respond to complex systemic changes. They didn't just aim to restore an ecosystem. They developed a living, adaptive framework that could continuously evolve and respond to changing environmental conditions. Jack Harper observed the process with a mixture of pride and fascination. The human approach wasn't about finding the perfect solution. It was about creating systems that could continuously adapt, learn, and transform. The interpersonal conflict resolution challenge revealed perhaps the most surprising aspect of human intelligence. Teams didn't just approach the problem logically. They brought deep emotional intelligence, cultural understanding, and a capacity for empathy that went far beyond traditional conflict resolution strategies. A group of mediators from different cultural backgrounds developed a solution that wasn't about winning, but about creating mutual understanding. They demonstrated an approach to conflict that saw disagreement as an opportunity for growth rather than a problem to be solved. The artistic challenge pushed the boundaries of what intelligence could mean. Teams created solutions that were part mathematical theorem, part artistic expression. They showed that creativity wasn't separate from logical thinking. It was an integral part of problem solving. One particularly memorable submission came from a collective of neuroscientists, musicians, and quantum physicists. Their solution was a complex multimedia presentation that simultaneously solved the challenge while challenging the very concept of what a solution could be. The technological innovation task became a testament to human potential. Teams didn't just improve existing technologies, they conceived entirely new paradigms of technological thinking. They approached the challenge by questioning the fundamental assumptions about what technology could be. A group of young researchers developed a concept for a technological system that could learn and adapt at a cellular level, blurring the lines between biological and technological intelligence. Their approach suggested that intelligence wasn't about processing power, but about adaptability and potential for growth. Dr. Miranda Rodriguez noted the profound implications. "We're not just solving a challenge," she explained during a global broadcast. "We're demonstrating that intelligence is about more than computational power. It's about the ability to see connections, to imagine possibilities that don't yet exist." The Galactic Assembly's observation systems began to show signs of fundamental breakdown. Their computational models, designed to categorize and predict intelligent behavior, simply could not process the human approach to the challenge. Jack Harper understood the deeper significance. This wasn't just about proving humanity's capabilities. It was about challenging the very definition of intelligence in the galactic community. As the final submissions came in, something extraordinary became clear. Humanity had approached the challenge not as a competition to be won, but as an opportunity for collective growth and understanding. The alien structures overhead began to show subtle changes. Their perfect geometric formations started to develop slight imperfections, almost as if they were struggling to comprehend what they were witnessing. Humanity had done more than solve a challenge. They had redefined what it meant to be an intelligent species in the universe. The intellectual boundaries had been broken, and the galaxy would never be the same. The moment of transformation came not with a thunderous declaration, but with a subtle shift that reverberated across the entire galactic community. The Galactic Assembly's communication networks began to change. Their crystalline structures, once perfectly geometric and intimidating, started to show signs of fundamental reconfiguration. It was as if the very concept of their technological and intellectual understanding was being rebuilt from the ground up. Jack Harper watched from the Global Coordination Center as the alien structures above Earth began to pulse with a new kind of energy. No longer were they instruments of threat and subjugation. They had become something else entirely, a symbol of mutual understanding and potential. Dr. Miranda Rodriguez turned to Jack, her eyes reflecting a mixture of exhaustion and triumph. "We didn't just challenge them," she said softly. "We showed them a different way of existing." The challenge had revealed something profound about humanity. It wasn't about technological superiority or military might. It was about the capacity to approach problems with a combination of creativity, empathy, and adaptive thinking that defied traditional understanding of intelligence. The Galactic Assembly's withdrawal of the initial ultimatum came through a communication method that was itself a testament to the transformation. Instead of a formal diplomatic message, they sent a complex quantum transmission that was part mathematical theorem, part artistic expression, part emotional acknowledgement. Dr. Samantha Rodriguez worked with a global team to decode the transmission. What they discovered was extraordinary. The assembly wasn't just retreating. They were requesting a deeper engagement with humanity. Global leaders gathered in an unprecedented virtual conference. Jack Harper, representing humanity's diplomatic efforts, stood at the center of a communication network that spanned the entire planet. The quantum communication system they had developed allowed for a level of global unity that would have been impossible just weeks earlier. The alien communication revealed the true depth of their transformation. They had come expecting to neutralize a potential threat. Instead, they had discovered a species that challenged every fundamental assumption about intelligent life. The Galactic Assembly's message was clear. Humanity was to be recognized not as a potential threat, but as a unique and valuable addition to the galactic community. They requested ongoing collaborative research, mutual knowledge exchange, and a complete reassessment of their initial threat assessment. Jack Harper understood the deeper significance. This was more than a diplomatic victory. It was a fundamental reimagining of how intelligent species could interact. Universities around the world began preparing for unprecedented collaborative research projects. Scientific teams that had been working in isolation now found themselves at the forefront of a new era of galactic exploration and understanding. The quantum communication network that had been developed during the challenge became the foundation for a new kind of interstellar dialogue. It wasn't just a communication method. It was a living, breathing system of mutual understanding. Dr. Miranda Rodriguez led a team developing the first comprehensive report on the encounter. Their findings would reshape humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. They had done more than survive a potential existential threat. They had transformed the very concept of first contact. The alien structures overhead began to reconfigure. No longer weapons of potential destruction, they became research platforms, communication hubs, symbols of a new kind of galactic cooperation. Schools and educational institutions around the world began developing new curricula. The challenge had revealed the importance of interdisciplinary thinking, of approaching problems with creativity and empathy. Education would no longer be about memorization, but about developing the uniquely human capacity for adaptive, creative problem-solving. Jack Harper reflected on the journey. They had been threatened with extinction, challenged to prove their worth. Instead, they had demonstrated something far more powerful: humanity's capacity for growth, understanding, and transformation. The final transmission from the Galactic Assembly was both a surrender and an invitation. They acknowledged humanity's unique place in the cosmic ecosystem. More importantly, they recognized that intelligence was far more complex than they had ever imagined. As the crystalline structures began to integrate with Earth's orbital systems, creating a new kind of collaborative platform, humanity stood at the threshold of a new era. They had not conquered the galaxy. They had transformed it. The challenge was complete, and the universe would never be the same.